gonna tell me how to live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everyone is Addicted. Today's guest, Rachel, has graciously come on to share her vast knowledge and experience with not just addiction, but addiction and recovery and a few things in between. So, welcome, Rachel. And yeah, tell us about yourself, please.
Thank you. Rachel Nigyaso, Montour Desa Sanatse, Otiat Yoni Niwagishonte. My name is Rachel Montour. I am Wolf Clan. I am a Mohawk woman from Six Nations of the Grand River. Um, I had my 3 years of sobriety on August 1st of 2025.
Congratulations. Because, yeah,
Thank you.
last time we spoke, I hadn't talked to you yet. Like it was before. So, congratulations.
Yes. Yes, been working very hard at running my own cleaning business. It's they got totas, which means I am a maid or I clean houses. Um, and yeah, I have an 8-year-old son who I've just in the last pretty much over the summer and part of the springtime I've reconnected with, and I spend a lot of my time with him. I spend a lot of time with elders just hanging out, but I also do an elder discount for my business, so I also they sit there and they talk to me while I clean, and that's one of the most rewarding aspects of my job right now.
I think that it's like, you know what, you get so it's perfect because you get something out of it and they get something out of it. And
Yeah,
that's like the perfect combination when you do something for someone. You know, it's not like you're giving somebody a discount and they aren't even home. You know what I mean? Like at
yeah,
least you're getting something that you want, like not like you want, but like something that is
something that I
important.
need.
Yeah,
Yes,
something to
and
help you
then
heal.
then I also am in my 3rd year of my bachelor's of Ongwe languages at Six Nations Polytechnic. So I will have a bachelor's in Cuba language when I'm done. Thank you. It is very overwhelming. Just recently I had to pull back on my business a little bit just to focus more on school and my son.
But with your cleaning business, do you just clean on the reserve or can people hire you that live in Brantford or Brant County?
Yeah, I clean in Brantford, Brant County, Haldeman. I've even done a house out in Norfolk. A lot of my houses are on reserve, but I'm open to traveling. But at this time, I'm not taking any clients until I'm more like grounded in my school again.
Yeah. I was just asking for viewers that might be interested in the
Yes.
services in
In
the
the
future.
summertime, get a hold of me. I'll be back at
There
her
we
hard
go.
again.
There we go. So, what was it that like led you to find sobriety and start trying to build your life again?
I had been homeless on the streets for all of COVID. Um, I had found myself into a women's shelter, a Native women's shelter in Hamilton, and I was escaping human trafficking. I was escaping domestic violence. I was escaping a lot of things on the streets. So an outreach worker threw me in a cab and sent me off to Hamilton Native Women's Center, where they don't usually take cases like me, but they decided to take me after hearing my story. And that was where kind of my journey began. They gave me the like anti love that I needed to really start focusing on myself and seeing that I was worth more than what I had been letting myself be. And so we were there, and I was looking for private treatment, and we were looking at trying to fund it and everything. And it just so happened that ONWA, the Ontario Native Women's Association, called the shelter and said, "We have some extra funds. We're thinking about helping somebody with mental health and addictions. Do you have any programs or anything that we could put these funds into?" And they said, "We have a girl looking for private treatment." And from that moment, I ended up in one of the best accredited treatment centers in Ontario, Freedom from Addiction in Aurora. And because I was a scholarship, every 30 days we did like an evaluation. Was I doing the work? Was I making progress? So I had earned my whole 90 days there, and I got a and I relapsed. Like I relapsed by the time the cab got me back to where I was going. It
That's
was
the
really just
hard part, and that's the thing I'm working on with my mother-in-law is a transitional program for people who are coming out of jail or rehab to like transition back into society again because
yeah,
it's so hard. Like my daughter's father, he goes to prison, he comes out and he's fine for a couple weeks and then he relapses
Yeah.
and it's a cycle, right? So me and her were thinking, you know what, this cuz there's a gap there where it's scary for one, and for two, I think that there's lack of support for those people. And
Yes.
so that's something I'm working on, and I could see why that would happen. You know what I mean? Like,
And
what?
like it really needs to be taken into consideration. Like for me, I had burned all my family bridges. So there was no place for me to go after treatment. So I had to go back to the shelter. And that was the most discouraging, soul crushing
Um,
thing that I can remember, other than losing my son. Um, like losing custody of him. Like it was like I finally did everything you guys wanted and it still wasn't good enough. And that's when I relapsed. But when I got out of treatment, I relapsed and I ended up in the hospital. And then I got out and I was clean. And then I ended up in the hospital. And like it was, every time I relapsed, I'd end up in the hospital within a couple days. Like it wasn't overdosing, it was infection, it was spider bites getting infected, it was like all these
so it's like
injuries.
life was like pushing you to say like
Yes.
you gotta stop, and but
Yeah.
not like putting you in that overdose state where you're getting Narcan and you're
Yeah.
really sick. I know that feeling of no matter what I did, it just wasn't good enough. And so, I mean, that's where the gap is, because like having to go back there, that's the thing, is a lot of us have definitely in our addiction burned bridges, and there needs to be kind of like a middle ground there, right? And I totally see how then when you're back out there, of course, like it luckily you didn't have any overdose or drug related issues, but like yeah, like infections and spider bites and stuff. It's so like life being like, okay, Rachel, let's think about how we can help you, you
Yeah,
know?
I just look at it as my ancestors and creator like pushing me. Before my 30th birthday, for about 6 months, they would come to me in my dreams, and that was different because well, I was on drugs. I never dreamed. That was one of the reasons I did drugs. So they came to me and they kept telling me, like, you need to smarten up by your 30th birthday or we're going to bring you home. We're tired of watching you hurt everybody and yourself. And it was on my 30th birthday that I ended up in that shelter and I detoxed cold turkey that time. And it was,
Oh, that
yes. And like I was shooting up meth and fentanyl. So that was one of the absolute worst detoxes I've ever had. But just before that, I had hit my head riding a bike. A car cut me off and I hit into one of those cement light poles. So I had a concussion. And I think that's the only way I really made it through that detox because I was concussed. So I just slept the whole
yeah,
entire time.
because like yeah, like that is like when I would do fentanyl, I would wake up with bruises. I would, because I don't know, it makes you black out, you know what I mean? And I would wake up with burn holes and bruises, and I'd be like, where is this coming from? So,
Yeah,
like,
it
it's
was weird though because I didn't usually like nod or anything. Like drugs had the opposite effect on me. Like so the downers would often make me all happy and uppity, whereas if I did the uppers long enough, they would make me crash.
that's
So
like my husband. He says I'm the only person I've ever met that could do meth and go and pass out after.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
I've never seen that. So
So I
same
recently
thing.
found out that I was really self-medicating because I am on diagnosed ADHD, but we're doing treatment for it now.
That's why that they had the opposite effect,
Yes.
because he has ADHD, and that's how we figured that out too. So like the downers weren't downing you and the uppers weren't upping you, like because
Yes.
of the ADHD, which
I
makes a
used to
lot
say
of
I was
sense.
going sideways because I'd mix them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so since starting actual proper treatment and medication for my ADHD, it's been life changing. Like being able to just do the things that I need to do, like shower, eat, cook, grocery shop
Mm.
without putting all that extra mental energy into doing it. It's
I was
just
the
been
same.
freeing.
I was the same way once I went to the methadone clinic and got my mental health assessment and started like working on like what I had been diagnosed with and how like properly treating that, either may it be with medication, may it be with therapy, and it was the turnaround for me as well. Like so to do a mental health assessment, you probably should be sober for at least
Yeah.
a year or two so that you're it's cleared out of your system, I guess you could say, right?
But I do think a lot of those people that are working in the treatment centers and the outreach and all that, they can tell by looking at us. Like, just recently, I've been like learning about how mental health people really assess you and the questions they ask. And I'm just
Oh,
like
really?
hearing these questions and I'm like, oh, so that's what they thought. But now this time on sobriety, I'm actually on the sublocade shot. And for me, that's just been
I'm
life
on the
changing.
pill. I'm on
Yes.
Suboxone the pill, and it is life changing. I agree. And
I
people
would,
might try to say you're not sober, but I don't give a shit what they say.
yes. The way I look at it is look at my life now compared to look at my life 4 years ago, three
Yep.
years ago, as I was still on the streets. You can't tell me that I'm not doing better for myself now. And I think part of me being on the medication and speaking out so prominently in my community about it, it's kind of taken a little bit of stigma away from some people. Like I know even within my family, seeing me be on the medication, like they've all watched me be on methadone. I abused it. They watched me be on
Oh,
Suboxone, and I
methadone. Oh,
would
yeah.
skip doses to go get high. And then with this one, it really just I didn't have to keep going to the clinic every day. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to get this medication in my mouth or in my system every day, or I was going to get sick. So I go in, I do my P test, I get my shot, and that's it for the month. I go back and do the same thing. And that has been great because a lot of the times going to the clinics was a trigger for me. I would be seeing a lot of the people I used to be on the streets with, or a lot of the people I used to party with when in my younger
Yep.
days. And like all it takes is for you to walk in there on one bad day with one bad thought, and somebody
Because yeah,
just gets
it's
your
like a
attention.
reunion almost. Like I
Yes,
go to when I
yes,
go there, it's the same thing. I see so many people that I same thing. It's like, oh, it's a reunion of my
yeah,
past. Like, yeah, I get,
yeah,
yeah, and it can be such a trigger. But like, see, I've been like, and the fact when you first start and you have to go every single day. Well, like I
yes,
didn't drive, so I had to take a taxi to the
yeah,
clinic every single day to get my dose, and
yeah,
that's where you skip doses, and that's where you can have that easy relapse because you don't have carries and try and same with methadone. It's like it makes you feel great, but also you
yeah,
have to go every single day and get your drink, right? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
many
And
people
your
don't.
whole life revolves around it.
Yeah, and it's like if you don't get it, you get sick. So
Yeah,
100%, I like the shot is life saving, especially for people who can't drive or
yes.
are triggered by the past.
And
Like I
being
like you're
honest with
saying,
them.
but like I said, like bringing awareness to Suboxone and the Sublocade shot is so important because people
Yes,
are stigmatized it so much. But like I was 70 pounds and like
yes,
looked like I was dying. Like I wouldn't leave my house. Like
yeah,
my face was picked and covered in bruises, my
yeah,
legs and everything. Like, come on. Like, I'm sorry, but it is a harm reduction medication and I don't care. If anybody wants to say that I'm not sober, I don't care. I want to promote it to people in every podcast I do. I say I'm on
yes,
Suboxone, I explain what it is, and I say like it is something that has saved lives. Like even like look
yes,
at all the things that you've managed to get back. And
yeah,
I guess that's probably how your family's been able to turn around and maybe accept
yeah.
the change in you, you know?
Yes, it was more of me doing my actions and doing the things and being the person rather than talking about it. This is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. It was this is what I did do. This is what I have done. And like it's beautiful. I think maybe I'm the oldest of six, and I only have one sibling that I haven't been able to like reconnect with and rebuild that relationship. So it's been really amazing. Like this summer, I got to be more involved in family stuff and like really having that sense of belonging that I've been really looking for so long. And with my being in language, that's what the school gave me at the beginning. Like I didn't have a car, I didn't have friends really. Like I went to school and school helped me build my life. And now my life is completely different. I was looking back the other day and I was like, I really miss the days when my biggest responsibility was calling my dad and saying, hey, don't forget I got to go to school at 5 today.
I think sometimes the same way when I wake up really stressed out because I have two kids and like 800 million things to do because I go to school too. And I do this in my show and stuff. And I wake up and I think about the days when I used to wake up and I didn't have children. And my biggest responsibility was to go serve in a restaurant for 4 hours, right? So it
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, oh, I really did not understand or take
I
advantage of
didn't
the
appreciate it.
peace. Yeah, I didn't appreciate the peace in that.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I think keeping busy is a
so
huge part.
fulfilling.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
huge part because you also you're filling your life with things that you want and need to do, and you're also not sitting there focusing on the negative, victimizing yourself because you don't
Yeah.
got time.
Yeah, exactly. You're just too busy.
And so do you so with your cleaning like you were talking about when you do like do with the elders, what kind of stuff do they talk to you about?
Um, Mostly just like their life lessons. Um, Quite a lot of the time, they often have a lot of questions for me regarding recovery and sobriety and like how what my thoughts are on all of the issues surrounding that in our community. Um, it's really beautiful because a lot of the times you think the elders are just going to speak at you, speak at you, speak at you, and you just got to sit there and take it all in. But and they some do that, and you do take it in. But for me, it's the magic happens when I'm asking them questions, they're asking me questions, and we're just having a really nice, beautiful conversation about our
Mhm.
community or our language or like certain families we know. It's so fulfilling. Like oftentimes at the end of my day, I am run down and ragged. I start my first job at 9 o'clock. I do 2 houses of like 6 hours of deep cleaning, and then I go to school for 3 hours. But those days where I just have the elders, I'm not tired. It's like their energy feeds me through the
Energized.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I totally get that because my grandmother, she's like grew up as her father as a pastor. She's very unaware of anything to do with addiction or very sheltered person, I guess we put it. And she's been watching this and she was asking my husband like questions and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that my grandmother, these are things I always wanted to hide from her, but I've just
Yeah.
decided to not. Like, you know what? I am who I am, but I'm not going to openly just say, "Hey, grandma, guess what?
Yeah.
I snorted some fentanyl." But she's heard my story now through this and through other people's stories, and it's like taught her a lot about addiction and recovery as well. So I think like that's the magic, like you said, you know, like being able to offer your knowledge too, you know, because like at first we think we were so embarrassed and so like we have that stigma in our own head, right? We don't
Yes.
want anybody to know, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that my grandmother accepts me, which I never thought she would, for these things that I've done, it's incredible to me. And I think that it's so cool that even like with the elders learning from you, it's awesome because you're able to kind of explain to them through lived experiences how addiction has affected your community, our community, everywhere, you know, and
Yeah.
even how easily it is to slip sometimes. Like it's just, you have a lot of knowledge to offer them as well. And they're definitely I know curious because everybody who hasn't been affected by it is a little curious about
Yeah.
struggles and the strength it takes and what it entails and all that kind of stuff. So it's very I think that's so cool that you get to do that, right? Like that is such a rewarding aspect of any kind of job, you know, like getting to be
Yeah.
able to do that.
And I look at it as also like we don't just talk about addictions, but like it's like one of my favorite
Yeah.
topics. And it's because I'm very open with every one of my clients that this is who I was and this is who I am now. And like, because I don't want anything to happen down the road and them to be like,
What
well, I
pops up?
don't know. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm just very aware of that. And I think that if I can maybe give them a little bit of understanding of my life, as much they continue to give me more understanding of my own life as well, that might help their family because every one of our
They have
families has
somebody
somebody in
suffering.
there.
Yeah.
Yes. So if it's not helping save their child, maybe it's their nephew or their niece, and they can go and talk to the family and offer a new perspective or something, right?
Because I think that's another thing too is like you said there is everybody is my grandma didn't even know she was infected. Well, maybe my mom's an alcoholic and we can all clearly see that at family functions when she's always completely enamored, right? So I think that's why my grandma wanted to watch my show is maybe understand a little bit about my mom, right? And it's like that's what I mean. That's why I say everybody's addicted, because there's always you might not be the addict, but there is an addict in your life, and
Yeah.
you don't know how to help them. And having hear from somebody firsthand, it helps you to understand, and then you can, like you said, talk to the rest of the family, maybe make them understand instead. And so what happened to you of coming out of rehab and having no family, maybe the family will be a little bit more understanding and supportive towards the next person, right?
Yeah. And like I did end up having like some family. Like my dad, I couldn't be on his property because me and his girlfriend, I burnt that bridge. And um I'm not gonna say anything more about that. But yeah, so I always had my dad to be able to call, and he was always there to come and rescue me when I would call. But in the end, my auntie and my uncle were the one that took me in so that I could come home and start to rebuild a life. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. So I wouldn't say that I didn't have any family. I just didn't have any
Yeah.
family that would welcome me into their homes at that time.
I was lucky that, well, my dad's passed now, but during like my addiction part of my life, he was alive, and he didn't like me doing it at the house. So I would go out for days at a time, I suppose. But
Same.
I'd still call him and let him know where I was and things like that. But he always kept a roof over my head, and I am eternally grateful for him for doing that and putting up with all of my shenanigans, I guess you could say, that I would do. And um that was like, I would have been out on the streets, and I know that. And the same with my family this time, even though it wasn't due to, well, it was due to somebody else's addiction, but it wasn't my addiction. Like, it was a gambling addiction, and it ended up with us having to stay with in-laws. And I'm grateful that we got to stay there. It was very stressful staying with them. You know how sometimes certain people, it's just harder to live with them. But
Yes.
I'm still grateful that they put a roof over me and the kids' heads, and like still treated the kids great, and like made us like feel like, safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of having to go to a shelter, which my kids were terrified of having to do. So I am grateful for what they have done. It's just, it was time for us to separate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard living with people that you
Yeah.
like, and especially after a while, it just gets like that, right? So,
Yeah.
and then
And
when you,
there's honestly nothing better than having your own space. Like,
yeah,
even though I'm barely home now, I have my own space so that when I need to go, I can go.
we're staying with another family member, but it's a little bit different because it's just one person,
Okay.
and he's pretty relaxed, and he has a big house. He's not home very much. His kids were like wrongfully taken away from him, so having my kids around kind of helps him
Aw.
not always feel so depressed, because right now
Yeah.
we're going like how like he's going through court to try to get them back, because
Yeah.
some women can be very vindictive. So
Yep.
he's in that kind of a situation, but like he's letting us stay here for, or like, now we our house sold, so we end up actually getting like a good chunk of money back from that, because it wasn't like foreclosure. So
Yeah.
we still get the money that after the mortgage is paid off, so we can buy a new house. But for now, staying with him, it's like I can think, I can breathe. There's no
Yeah.
yelling all the time. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for both the people that helped us. And even my mom, she just didn't have the room.
Yeah.
And the fact that like she drinks so much, it's hard to be around her, because I was an alcoholic for like 10 years, right? So it could be a trigger
Yeah.
eventually, like if I
Yeah.
stayed there long enough. But
Yeah.
also, like, she showed up at my AA birthdays drunk a couple times.
Oh,
So there's triggers and like trauma there that
yeah.
isn't healthy for me to stay there. And that's where I think once we do get that clarity after, like, there's that first 6 months with the rose colored glasses, and then there's
Yeah.
the rest of your life, and then you can pick,
Yeah.
and just knowing the right choices for you mentally is one of the biggest things, I think. And the mental health aspect of being able to know when to take care of yourself, which
Yeah.
is exactly what you were saying earlier about how you now with the Supplicate shot, that's what how you are able to manage to take care of yourself, right?
Yes, yes. And like now that I'm 3 years in, like I could probably talk to the doctor about getting off and all of that now, but for right now, my life is good. I don't feel like rocking the boat. Maybe if my life is, I get this quiet moment where there's no stress, which I don't think I'm ever going to get again. But if I do get that moment, then that's when I will maybe transition off.
I
But
agree.
right now, it is harm reduction. If for some reason I were to misstep, I probably would not overdose because of the medicine in my system. I probably would not even get high. So that also sometimes when my brain gets going and I'm like, oh, I could really just do this, this, and this.
But
And
you
then
can't because it will beta
now,
block it. That's the
not
best part.
even that. Now I'm like running through, well, tonight I got to do a phone call with my son. Tomorrow I got to do this. Tomorrow I got to do this. Tomorrow night. I'm like, well, I really don't even have time for a relapse, even if I wanted to.
That's what I was like, and like with drinking or whatever, when like things were really bad, like a couple months ago. It's like, well, I'd have to wake up, I have to take the kids to school, I have to make their lunches, I have to, you know, do the laundry, I have to clean the house. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you have responsibilities. So in your mind, you're like, if I got drunk or I relapsed, I the next morning would feel like crap and not get anything done. And then I would just hate myself more and I'd probably keep going. So
Yeah,
it's like I
exactly.
don't got time for that.
Yeah.
That is
And just
just so funny because
realizing that
I
was
feel the same way.
yeah. And it was almost kind of like I don't know, maybe somewhat of a calming realization. Like now I have the thoughts. Like I can go through the whole process and play it forward and see like this isn't going to play out the way that I want it to. Like the momentary relief is just all your problems, all your responsibilities are still going to be there. You're just not going to be the same person dealing with them, right? So
Hmm. Um, so through your story, how and I hate to ask, but like, how did you get into? How were you sex trafficked? Like, I'm just wondering for the safety of others in our community. Like,
yeah. Okay. So I had this boyfriend. Um, and it started out all normal. Um, I had actually been clean for almost 2 years when I met him, and we started doing cocaine. We started doing all these other things, and that's when I lost custody of my son. He really started like doing things to make my family mad so that they would push us away. And then in the end, um, I, you know how I can't explain it, but
okay,
when
well
you're in
that
that
I get the
relationship, it's
point. He
all
pushed you.
submitting.
He pushed you.
Yeah, and they
I
like
just
just take over your whole life. You don't have any friends, you don't have any personal space. At one point in that relationship, I couldn't look at people when they talked to me. I couldn't even answer when people called my name. I had to be looking
I
at
was
the
in one of
ground and
those.
yeah,
No
and
makeup,
like
had to dresses, yeah,
yes.
and push, yeah. But like that,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like those thing one of those things where you're at because I've heard of this, like at the mall and somebody calls you over to their
Well,
car for
if
help and
you
shuts
I'm
you
getting
in.
there. I'm getting there. It does
Oh,
turn
okay.
into that basically. So after I don't know where I was, but we
He cut you off from everybody.
yeah, we're off. I really only have him and his mother, and my family is very upset with what I'm doing and everything. So I just go further and further and further into that direction. So then that's when he got the control. After my son was out of the picture, he started hitting me. Then we break up, and like we had a place in Brantford, and when we broke up, I went to a shelter, and he came and he's like, okay, well, we got to separate all this stuff. The lease is going to be up, da 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 da. So I said, okay, come get me. And he came and got me. And I remember getting into the vehicle and I looked over at him and a hand came over my mouth. And the next thing I know, I wake up and I'm in a hotel room. And those guys proceeded to tell me that he sold me for a $1,900 drug debt or something like that, like something not even big. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I was trafficked for the next 3 months, and this was like right at the beginning of COVID. Like I remember coming in and out in the hotel rooms and seeing like the crazy news and stuff, right? And like I couldn't comprehend it because I was so messed
Yeah.
up. Um, And like, I believe that they had people watching me at all times because they
Oh
would move me from
yeah,
hotel
they
to hotel to
definitely
hotel,
did.
up and down the 403. And like, I don't know what happened, but I got rolled. So I woke up, I was bleeding everywhere. I was broke. I was busted everywhere. And that's when I realized that they weren't watching me. So I don't know, couple, I ended up, a native guy came in to see me. And I don't know if he like went in to see girls all the time or if he purposely went in to see if he could get native girls out, but he got me out and we were in Toronto and I remember like walking through the streets and I thought the world ended because COVID, everything got boarded up. And I really like, I was raised hardcore church Baptist when I was little. I was like, did I miss the second coming of Christ?
Yeah.
So then I ended up, I hitchhiked on the highway all the way back to this area. And then I just lived on the streets out here.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get out of it. Like, I'm sorry to ask you that because I know it's something that's hard to retell. I just wanted for people in this community to understand how they do it because I know they do it out of the certain motels
Yes,
and I
yes.
know they do it on the 403 and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I just wanted to show people how it act like how I don't know. I didn't want to like have you get into details.
Yeah.
I don't want you to tell you negative. I just wanted
Yeah.
to kind of bring awareness to how it works and how it
Yeah.
happens, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I bet you that guy really was somebody who was coming in and trying to help Native girls, you know,
I think so. Yeah.
because I know that they target Native women, and that's why I could see somebody being like that. And I just know there's a lot of good people that good people out on the reserve that really just want to help the ones that are struggling, right? So
Yeah.
I could really see that being, you know, one of your ancestors' plans was for you to be saved by somebody of your like own culture, and you know it's kind of
Yeah. It was
beautiful
weird
but
because
sad.
I don't know if he was a Hells Angels, but he called the Hells Angels to come and
He might
help
have been a
get
red
me out.
rum. He might have been a red
Yeah,
rum.
that's what yeah. So, but I just find it so, I guess, interesting that it was in the long run the Hells Angels who helped get me out of that. And like, I've never seen those guys again in my whole life. I would love to see them if I could, but like, I don't know who they are. We never exchanged names. They never asked my story. They just
Funny.
kind of like got me out.
It's funny because they always make them out to seem like bad people, but
Yeah.
my stepdad was a part of them when he was younger. He's old now and can't ride a bike. But he would even say like they aren't what we think they are.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like they look out for people. I even seen a video the other day of this girl who got shoved out of a car, and a bunch of Hell's Angels were on a ride and they were parked. They seen it and they surrounded her to try to keep her safe. And people in the restaurant were like, "Oh, they're attacking her." No, they were surrounding her to keep her safe from
Yeah.
whoever dropped her out of the car, right? And
Yeah.
it just shows that, you know, they aren't heartless, drug selling, shooting it up people, you know,
Yes.
they actually
Yeah.
care. And
Yeah.
that part of it too is so interesting because I just from my own experience with people that are bikers, they aren't usually like what you see on TV, I guess
Yeah.
you could say, right? They're not. And
Yeah.
and I think that it's so interesting that I bet you that he was a probably a red rum that called the Hells Angels because I know that the red rum is the native biker
Yeah.
gang on the reserve, right? So
Yeah.
they probably had connections with them, they knew how to keep you safe. Like
Yeah.
that's just in itself a whole story. Like you could write a freaking novel where
Eventually, one day I will.
because it would be a big one, especially with like also being able to talk about your ancestry along with your addiction, along with this like getting saved by the way you did, and then finding
Yeah.
right. Like there's so much to your story, and so much sad, but so much good. You know, like good now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I
Overcoming.
say no, I don't regret any of it. Like, without every misstep, without every crazy interaction, I wouldn't be the person I am now. And I feel like it was all worth it. Like it doesn't feel like it while you're in it, but when you finally get out of it, looking back, you're like, okay, I like the person I am now, and I am only this person because of these things.
And for people watching too, like how hard was it to get your son back? Like
I don't even have him back. He is still in the custody of my mom,
yeah,
but like
you're
I
able to
am welcome to go there whenever I want. We do nightly phone calls. I pretty much have him all weekend. Like we are working towards that, but like I'm not in any rush. I don't want to upend his whole life because
yeah,
I think the right thing to do is for a mother and child to be together, right? Like that's not I'm still building a life that can sustain us both. And I
yeah.
am very appreciative of my mom and my stepdad being there and raising him. Like they've done an amazing job with him. And I'm beyond grateful. And I think in the long run, I'll end up just moving back like to that area, and then he'll just kind of go back and forth between houses.
That would be like, because children love being like
Yeah.
around family. Like my kids love going to my mom's. They love going to their other grandparents.
Yeah.
They have a third set of grandparents because my daughter's mother or my daughter's father's mother includes my son and everything, right? So
Yeah.
they've got three sets of grandparents. They love the when we
Yeah.
are closer to them, like we like living with the children loved it, and they go to my mom's on the weekend so I can do my homework. They
Yeah.
love it. Like it's just I feel like when I was a kid I didn't really get to see my grandparents very much because they lived far away, and my aunts and uncles, and
Yeah.
my kids being able to be so close to them, it's beautiful. And also you don't want to uproot, like you said,
No.
whole life. So
No.
being able to be close and then he can come back and forth, his life still stays the same. Because I had
Yeah.
like my kids don't want to switch schools. And so now it's this big fight of like, well, now we have to take you in and out. It's a bit of a drive, but I don't want to uproot them either because
Yeah.
it's they've been going like my daughter's in grade 3. She's like really attached to her friends, doesn't want to go to a school in a new city, even though
Yeah.
it's my old school I went to. That doesn't excite her. It only excites me.
Yeah.
So she's like, because I'm back in my hometown of Paris, right? So it's like nice for me to be home, but I'm not near my old home, so I don't get
Yeah.
triggered by seeing my old house all the time because
Yeah.
that's a trigger.
Yeah.
Um,
I bet.
the family crap that happened and how I had to sell it and how that all went down was really bad. So every time I drive by it, I start to tear up. So I can't be near it. So I'm on the other side of town, but at least I'm in the place. I like have all these memories. I think about it. You know what I mean? And like that's kind of like with when you move back to where your parents are, it'll be like the same thing. You'll have like, oh, I'm home again, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
you
it's funny
probably feel
because
that.
where I got my first 2 years of sobriety is literally a 2-minute walk from my mom's house. So I've always really been in that area,
That
except for now while I'm living in Brantford.
I think it's good to be able to feel comfortable in where you are because I
Yes.
was staying in Hamilton for a couple of months and
Mhm.
I'm not from Hamilton. I went to college in Hamilton like 10 years ago. I don't really know
Yeah.
anybody out there. I don't drive, so I was literally felt stuck so far away from everything that I knew that it was putting me in fight or flight mode all the time because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. Ah. But now that I'm like back in like in Paris. Eventually we're gonna end back up in Brantford, but
Yeah.
it's just I know these areas, so I feel
Yeah.
comfortable. It's less triggering to me to feel like I'm stuck on like I felt like I was stuck on an island far away
Yeah.
from even my parents. Like maybe it'd take my stepdad like an hour to come pick me up, you know? So like it felt I just felt so far away. I hated it, right? As much as I appreciate and am grateful for the food and the roof over our head and the help and everything, it was just that part of me. I'm not from Hamilton. My husband
Yeah.
is, and he was happy to be home, but I was like, and so now he's like back in Paris and he's like, this isn't where I'm from. So he's, but yeah, I totally understand that fact of being close to your community kind of helps too, right? And they
Yeah.
even like in psychology say that like there's a saying, it's like the more that you feel part of the community, the more you are more likely to do good than to do
Yeah.
bad, right? Because you
Yeah.
feel accepted and you feel comfortable, and that it's a Karl Marx theory, right? And
Yeah.
it's so true. Like it's
Yeah.
so true. And so with your schooling, I have her on Facebook, so I've seen that she likes to help other people too with registering and all that. So how do you go about helping other people too with the
Uh,
getting the bursaries and stuff?
so a lot of times they'll reach out to the student success advisor at the school, and then she'll pass along my information. In the last 3 semesters at school, I have gotten about 20K in grants and bursaries and scholarships that I don't have to pay back. So one of my ways to give back to the community is to help others find these funds and fill out for school. So a lot of the times I'll just make a post on Facebook and people will reach out. Um, People reach out through other family members that we have mutual friends or whatnot. But they'll just shoot me an email, shoot me a text, tell me what they're doing, what they need help with, or they're looking for like other funding resources, and I can do a little bit of research, send it back. Sometimes they'll send me over their scholarship applications. I proofread them and make suggestions and send it back, and then they can change it and I'll reread it. Other times I sit there with them and they tell me what they want to say, and I help them word it and make it what it needs to be to meet the
Criteria?
requirements for that bursary. And it's been really good. I've only had a few people reach out. I think a lot of times people are scared to ask for help. They kind of feel like they should have already known this. But the very first semester I was in school, I didn't fill out for
Yeah.
anything because I was intimidated. I was like, why would anybody want to give me money? And that's probably about $5,000 that I could have had that I just didn't apply for.
Well, that's exactly like with me. I went to school for years. I go back and forth because I like education and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But this time around, I have an accessibility teacher because of my mental health, and she is the one that sends me all of these different. Like she'll show them to me like the bursaries. Even when my
Yes.
computer broke, she's like, "Here's some paperwork. Give me the receipt, and you can get the money back for that." Like she guides me almost in like the same way that you do for people, and it's amazing that you're giving even more back to your community, not even just from, the other things that you do. It's just like I feel like you're just constantly, trying to help everybody that you can with that's why I said with sure knowledge is beyond addictions and stuff, right? So that's what I said at
Yeah.
the beginning, because I know that you help people with that kind of stuff, which, like you said, it can be so intimidating. Because, like, I remember I never thought I was going to get accepted for the first bursary that I did, and it was about $1,000. And then they gave me grocery cards that could be used
Hmm.
at like No Frills and stuff like that. And I was like, I can't believe that I got accepted for that. And then they
Yeah.
gave me, but it's just you have to go through it, and the paperwork is a little confusing and is
Yeah.
difficult. The first one I did apply for, I applied for it wrong and I got denied.
Mm.
So I see why people would want to reach
Yeah.
out for help, because I did do it wrong. And
Yeah.
if I had
Yeah.
somebody like you, like I could call and be like, can you look at this and see
Yeah.
what you know what I mean? Because you understand it. Like that also is just a huge chunk of giving back. And it doesn't have to be in addictions or anything, but I find people who have had addictions and gotten sober just want to help people. It doesn't have to be in addictions. They just want to help. Like they see the good in people opposed to the bad, and so they just want to help them
Yeah.
with whatever the knowledge that they have to provide,
Yeah.
and with school, there is so much more out there than I ever thought, like for years. And so the fact that you're able to help these people is incredible, because there's always like all of us, like especially as like moms that with two kids, like moms with kids that don't have necessarily a huge income coming in. We
Hmm.
need that help,
Yeah. I'm a student on disability, so I also have the like accessibility officer, and she is my absolute best friend. Like I do have certain things where I can take tests in a quiet room. I have a little bit longer for assignments when I need them.
Mhm.
when my mental health is acting up, they give me a little bit of leeway to get things in when I can. And I so appreciate that. My first year, I was like, oh, I'm not going to use my accommodations. Why would I do that? I can keep up. And this year, I just finally said, you know what? I'm going to use the resources at my fingertips. So
Yeah,
I
I
even have a note taker this year, which really takes the stress off of me because I've never been good at taking notes. But another way that I give back to the community is through my business. So once a month, I go and do a 2 to 4 hour free cleaning for an elder or a brand new mom. And it's just so that I can reach people who can't normally
get
pay
that.
for my services, or someone who normally wouldn't let somebody come into their home. And it's worked
But
out
they're
really great. Like a couple of them were like, oh, we like you. We're going to keep you after that. But it gives them a fresh start, right?
especially like you said with a new mom, it's like you don't want to call a cleaner because you're kind of embarrassed of how messy your house is. But
Yeah.
somebody like you who is very down to earth and like humble, and the way that you already tell people about your past and stuff, they know you're not going to judge their house. So
Yeah.
they're like, okay, because that's been my thing when I wanted to hire a housekeeper when I first had my two young children because I could not keep up, right? But I
Yeah.
was like, they're gonna think my house is dirty, and
I can guarantee you there's been worse.
I'd go and I would clean, and then I would like maybe call somebody to come in, and but I would already spend hours cleaning before they
Yeah.
clean. So what's the point of calling them? But like that's where, and with elders, like my grandparents, for example, like they have like my both of them struggle with knee problems and walking and stuff like that. So they need that kind of help.
Yeah.
And it like my grandparents are lucky that they are financially okay, but they've also said that they didn't realize they were going to live this long. They didn't realize how much cost of living was going to go up. And
Yeah.
now, like my grandpa was like, now with my financial planning, I realize that I have to start selling my stuff to be able to keep
Oh,
surviving, right? Because it's just not enough. And
yeah.
you just, when you take into that all into account, obviously that is such a huge help for people that are elderly and like not necessarily struggling financially. They could be or they could not be, but usually they are. Like my parents even are on pension, and it's not enough necessarily for to live like comfortably and have like that access to somebody coming in and cleaning when they need it.
Yeah.
And so like I said, like you just are a person who gives back any way you can. And I love it. I think it's great. And you're not one of those people that's like, I'm a recovery coach, so I just teach people how to recover, you know? And I'm
No.
not dissing recovery coaches. I'm
I
saying that
barely got here.
I'm just saying you're out here doing like it doesn't have to be like because everybody
Yeah.
thinks, oh, because I'm in recovery, I have to help people in recovery. No, you don't.
No.
You can help anyone
Yeah.
who needs it, and you're living proof of that. And
Actually, though, when I'm done this bachelor's, I'm doing an accelerated accreditation for a bachelor's in social work. So once I finish this bachelor's, I'll be able to get my social work bachelor's in 2 years instead of 4. So that's what I plan to do after this.
that's what I like. That's what I love about college is, or colleges here is that you can do that if you go and get your full program. Then you only have to go to university for 2 years instead of the 4, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Because
Yeah.
like I'm taking accounting, but I want to get my bachelor's, and it's the same kind of thing. I just have to get through the program. But
Yeah.
it's like I don't know if that's the right fit for me, but I'm just gonna keep doing it until
Yeah.
and figure it out as I go. At least I'll still have the accreditation and be able to work
Exactly.
in that field instead of going back to hospitality where I was a bartender or a server or a restaurant manager. So
Yeah.
basically, I was just cleaning and serving people all the time,
Yeah.
right? And like, I don't know. Customers can be kind of mean at certain places. Like I worked at the country club, right? So people would
Yeah.
like snap their
Yeah.
fingers at me and treat me like I was lower than them because they had more money and stuff. And it really showed and it really fucked with my head and made me feel even worse about myself.
Yeah.
Like going like with you going in and cleaning for somebody who needs it, that's rewarding. You know what
Oh,
I
it
mean? I
is.
just want to feel that reward opposed to that, oh, you're just a slave, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
when
It's so hard though. Like my body is so tired at the end of the day.
Oh, I can imagine just from like when I clean the house, like I like my
Yeah.
whole back hurts and like I try to do it every day, but not probably to the degree or extent that you're doing it. And even I just like feel like I'm like, I need a nap, but I can't.
Yeah.
But when you do the cleaning with the elders and stuff like that, what kind of stuff do they like? I think I asked you, sorry, like, what kind of stuff do
Yeah.
they teach you? Like,
Yeah, we went over this a little bit, but we're just like really talking about community. They just really talk about their life and like all the many things that they've learned and that they think would be useful to someone like me. And it's just also like the beautiful conversations where I'm giving them a look into my life and the way I look at things while they're giving me the way that they look and how
yeah.
life looks to them, right?
I'm just wondering because I know that they survived a
Yeah.
lot more than what we have, or like what, like I'm not native, but I mean like for our generation would have,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I just think that that knowledge is important,
Oh,
and
yeah.
being them spreading that to you, then you can spread it to other people. It's just extremely important. And with now us being a lot more aware of what has happened. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not gonna lie, we already were aware, but
Yeah.
with what has become to light, we had to obviously reconciliation, but we should have been doing that the whole time because
Yeah.
it wasn't unknown, especially to our community that's so close to the reserve. There's so many people that have spoken out about residential schools. There was even one in Brantford that we toured when I was in school. So like
Yeah.
it's out there, but because of what happened, they had to bring it to light, which I think it needs to be more brought to light than it already is. And that's why I kept asking you about it, because I just want people to understand how their culture is beautiful, and it is so, I think, what God wanted for us.
Yes.
I think that's what God wanted for us, and our greed and our materialism took that away.
Yeah.
And the real way of living to me is, I think, the way that your culture it describes, and I've always felt that way. And so that's why I think that there needs to be more awareness, and even like more classes even in school about that kind of thing, like not even the negative side, but maybe just teaching like a cultural, like a native cultural class,
Yeah.
because like I had to do a project when I was younger and on the Iroquois, and I remember just learning so much and being so sucked into it that I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of other people would understand and connect with what their spirituality is, and how they really truly like connect to the earth. And that's what I think was God's plan for us. That's why you guys were here first, you know what I mean? And surviving and thriving, and we came in and just treated you like shit. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're one of the ones that got through all of the struggle and are out there bringing awareness, learning more about the culture, and then being able to share that knowledge with others and just passing it down. And I had a mentor when I first went to AA that was native, and he would teach me things, right? And he's passed now, sadly. That's kind of what made me leave AA, was because it was just too hard. He was just so close, and he was so spiritual, and I would
Yeah.
have great conversations with him. So I know exactly what you mean when you say that they talk to you, then they teach you so much. So,
Yeah.
in your sobriety, though, I'll ask you a couple more questions before we go. In your sobriety, what do you think the greatest thing you've gotten out of it is?
My self-acceptance. I love the person I am right now. I wouldn't change anything about it. And I think that's the first time in my life I've ever felt that way. Yes, there are certain things in my life that I either don't agree with or I wish would be different or I wish I could fix or change. But the person I am right now can deal with all of those things in a mature and responsible manner. And one day I will be the person that I'm truly meant to be. And I think I'm on my way there now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but also just I think I'm a better mother. Like, yes, I took a different road, but I'm a better mother than I would have been had I just stuck it out that whole time. And I'm so grateful to my parents and my family for like making sure my son was safe. Well, I took that time to do that.
And before I let you go, do you have any last little bit of advice to anybody or anything you want to say? Um, Before I let you go, I guess you could say.
Just ONWA, the Ontario Native Women's Association. You can look them up on Google, and there's a Thunder Bay and a Toronto office. I encourage any Native females who are looking for treatment or or female presenting even, call them. They will get you treatment. If you're having problems with domestic violence, I've seen them relocate a friend and her children overnight. If you are having food insecurity, they will get you food. If you're having housing insecurity, they will help you with housing. If you need help, ask for it. And for anybody else, the same. If you need help, ask for it. There are resources. A good starting spot in Brantford is RAM, the
I go
RAM
to the
clinic.
Ram Clinic. Yep.
And then for Six Nations, I would say reach out to Six Nations land-based team and Six Nations Mental Health and Six Nations Mental Health and Addictions. I've recently actually just closed my case. So I'm a graduate of being on their mental program. And the land-based program was life-changing for me. And if you have a chance, I would definitely encourage you to do some kind of healing in that kind of scope and environment.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything you did. I really appreciate it because I know I asked you some questions that are really difficult, and I was a little nervous to do so, but I'm glad that you were able to you were open to answering them for me.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I appreciate everything, and um, I might check in with you again in a little bit and see where you're at because I always like to check back in with people and, have a part two down the road a little bit,
Yeah.
see how everybody progresses with our projects and our school and just our lives. So I just find it beautiful how everybody's life unfolds, right? So
Yes.
I won't say goodbye. I'll say I'll
Yep.
talk to you shortly.
And
And
I'll say Escongan, which means see you later.
well, thank you. And you have a good rest of your day. And hopefully
Thank
it's
you.
not too busy.
It is, but
Bye.
it'll be good. Bye.